All right, I will kick things off. Thank you all so much for joining today. It's so wonderful to be here. I already see some familiar faces on the call. So, hi, everyone. My name is Harley Neller. I'm our Director of Customer Success here at Eulerity. Just thank you for taking all of the time out of your busy schedules to sit in today. We have a great session planned with hopefully some really insightful takeaways. So, just to go over that plan and agenda for the day, we're going to spend some time cutting through all of the noise around AI. So, you've probably seen these words AI, automation, agentic popping up in your LinkedIn feeds, in conference sessions and business reviews. They are everywhere. And it can likely feel a little overwhelming to maybe see that there's this evolution in the marketing space without fully understanding what does this mean for my brand and how should I put these things into practice. So that's what we'll cover today, what these terms mean, how they apply to marketing and multi-location brands, and then how you can actually put them to work to see real impact. A little later on, you might see her face already on your screen. We're going to be joined by my Salon Suite Director of Marketing, Jill Sullivan, to share her real world example, talking about my Salon Suite's journey with Eulerity, some of the AI influences and catalysts that help them see really awesome results. So, let's start to think about the landscape. Even before you walk in the door, why does this matter for multi-location brands? You guys know better than anyone managing dozens, hundreds, thousands of locations, and not to mention that you're already tied in the intricate world of shared learnings and overseeing a very interconnected system. It's complex. And without clarity on what these technologies can actually do, there can be some risk of falling behind your competitors, losing brand consistency and brand control across locations, and ultimately just missing growth opportunities because you simply can't move fast enough. So let's break down all of these tools. We're going to start with a simpler one, automation. Automation is rules-based. Think if-then statements. It performs exactly as instructed, so it's not learning from itself, as we'll get into other AI mechanisms that maybe can. It's not adapting, but it is perfectly executing each time on time your predefined rules that you've set once. So, for example, if a lead fills out a form, an automated system can send a confirmation email or next steps. So, you can think of it almost like a vending machine. You push the button, something's returned to you. It is straightforward and predictable. And all in all, it helps you be more efficient in, those scenarios and elsewhere where you can put your time and make better use of it. Generative AI. This may be the one that you've heard of the most. This is AI that creates. It creates content, text, images, video, all based on prompts. You ask it for something and it generates a response. Generative AI has been trained on massive amounts of data models, and it can deliver outputs pretty instantly and pretty well. So we see this all the time. We're most often exposed to this in our example of ChatGPT. You ask ChatGPT to write 5 different versions of an ad, and it gives them instantly. So this type of AI is great for ideation, content generation, but it doesn't act on its own. It is still a little bit of a manual process. So you can think of it as your creative assistant that is ready to help whenever you ask. This creative assistant doesn't manage up, though. It is not your assistant who takes initiative and comes to you proactively with things, but can certainly get the job done with clear direction. Now, agentic AI, a little bit of the buzzier word, and the one that takes the process up a little bit onto a higher level. So instead of being a passive tool, It can understand goals and plans and executes different actions, and it can optimize on its own, which really helps with continuous learning, which we find so helpful in practice. So that's going to look like shifting budgets, testing ads, reallocating spend to different channels, maybe. So agentic AI doesn't require instructions at every step. It will work towards outcomes pretty automatically with whatever guardrails you have in place. So if generative AI is writing the ad, agentic AI writes the ad, A/B tests it, shifts the budget to different performance indicators, and it continues to refine all on its own. So agentic AI is your manager. It doesn't just create, it runs campaigns, it iterates from start to finish based on what's effective. You can tell I like an analogy, right? And right off the heels of agentic AI, we have machine learning. Now, machine learning is really the backbone of all of this. It is the branch of AI that learns patterns from data and improves predictions over time. So every click, every impression, every data point basically fuels the system to spot trends and become smarter over time. So, for example, in our marketing world, it predicts which audience segment is most likely to click based on past performance. The way I see this is the coach who is obsessed with game film. They are trying to absorb all of the history of past games. They learn from every play call, every decision that was made in the past to hopefully adjust their strategy for next time and become more efficient with every future decision that they make. What's really important to take a step back and consider is that all of these mechanisms are not in different silos. They're not really separate. Hopefully, they're not. In really well-functioning organizations, each one builds on the other. So, I want to talk about how they all work together because that's where value really comes in. So, like we just talked about, automation executes your preset rules. It takes care of the repetitive tasks, it frees up space, brain power, bandwidth. That looks like sending emails, triggering responses, all on schedule. So, that's like the efficiency building block. Generative AI produces your content on demand. So, produces ads, images, copy as you prompt it to. So, you're guiding it to reflect your audience, your brand voice, and ultimately whatever your goals are. So, that will feed into other portals. Machine learning learns from data, like we just talked about. It collects data continuously to make smarter decisions and predictions down the line. It will analyze how different audiences respond to each variation that you just made in your generative AI portal. Remember, it's the coach. The coach tells you what content is likely to resonate, what audience to push budget towards in practicality. And then agentic AI brings it all together. It is creating, testing, acting, optimizing, and then hopefully scaling towards your goals without such manual intervention needed. So what's awesome here is that Eulerity was built from the ground up with agentic AI at its core. It wasn't just bolted on later to match up with the pace of all of these buzzwords that we see. So that means that all of these pieces that we just talked about aren't separate. They're working together as one intelligent system. Eulerity is generating thousands of hyperlocalized ad variations automatically through the system so that one, every location can speak directly to its audience and feel localized and customized, but you don't sacrifice losing brand direction. Our system is running thousands of A/B tests every single day, testing different ads, shifting budgets to the right audiences, and continuously learning what is driving the best results. So, with that, it makes every metric, every data point actionable. clicks, impressions, website action, leads. It's awesome that you get that aggregate roll-up reporting, but they don't just get reported, they guide the algorithm's next decision. So it's very directionally based. Now we know that multi-location brands face unique pressures. I don't have to tell you guys that. Scaling campaigns across hundreds, thousands of locations manually is extremely challenging and can be overwhelming if you need to do it manually. Keeping your brand voice and messaging consistent, a huge one that we always hear. Balancing that with emphasizing locality and that relevancy in all of your unique markets, it's really tough to balance sometimes. And especially if you're doing all of that manually, in addition to manually adjusting campaigns to stay agile, either in response to environmental pressures, business objective changes seasonally throughout the year, it can be really easy to fall behind just from a speed, bandwidth, manpower perspective. So that is where exactly AI is posing a solution for you. It lets you scale without just needing to double your marketing staff. It will help you maintain that brand control while allowing things to still feel customized. And all in all, it is making real-time adjustments automatically. And all of that, as we know, boils down to your bottom line, which is making a cost-effective decision time and time again. So finally, what I know you've all been waiting for, I teased it at the beginning, but I want to take a moment to fully introduce Jill Sullivan, our guest of honor today. Jill is an amazing, experienced marketer. I feel so lucky to get to partner with her and the rest of her My Salon Suite team. We get to talk and strategize every single week. So Jill, thank you for being here, and I'll let you introduce yourself any further.
Thanks, Harley. Hi, everybody. My name's Jill. I am the director of marketing for My Salon Suite. I have been with our brand for 9 years. I have seen our brand grow from 30 locations to now we are approaching 400 locations. 70% of those are owned by multi-unit operators. And if you don't know what My Salon Suite is, we are a suite model where health, beauty, and wellness professionals have the opportunity to open up their own independent business inside of our locations. All of our suites are outfitted as a hair salon or beauty salon type space. They're able to come in, set it up the way that they want, decorate, and essentially run their business. Just by signing a lease and walking through our doors, they can get started.
Awesome. Thanks, Jill.
Yeah.
So, I want to give a little bit of a background behind the brand and what happened when they got brought into Eulerity Space becoming our partner. So, when this partnership was first enacted, we obviously sought out to learn a few of their core challenges that they were facing and really why they brought Eulerity in to help alleviate some of these. So, one, they needed consistent, qualified leads, high retention rates across all locations. Not niche, pretty standard. What became a little bit more niche was the need, as Jill kind of just mentioned, to distinguish salon renters from someone who was seeking out a salon service. And they needed a way to scale campaigns across those almost 400 locations and iterate on all of those campaigns without losing brand control and that voice that was so important to them. So I have to give them props. They dove headfirst and trusted our team and trusted the ability of our platform and the AI tools that Eulerity was created to utilize. So we built a keyword strategy, found strong audience segments to help them focus on suite renters specifically. We helped them strengthen their creative assets, one through our ad builder and through those creative testing modules that I mentioned, showing them in aggregate what was working best locally and across the system in aggregate and helping them predict what would resonate well with their target audience moving forward. One of our largest solutions ended up being implementing meta lead cards so that they could capture leads directly in platform. And then, of course, we let our testing and our optimization engine improve performance automatically over time. So here's what happened. When we looked at data from Q2, we saw that on average there were 16 new leads generated per location. Cost per lead dropped about 60%. We were driving a huge share of their new website traffic on average across every location. They hit a really strong impression share, really strong click-through rate above 5.5%. And ultimately, one of the more important factors that we saw was this tour to lease conversion jumped to 9.4% of an improvement. So all in all, just to say, the platform and our team really worked hand in hand with AI that was kind of at our fingertips, and we saw really impressive results. So I know that hearing from the source will be so beneficial for our audience. So, Jill, I just have some questions that I think every marketer, everyone here would appreciate hearing directly from you about your journey and why you leaned into these buzzwords. So I'd like to just start going back to the beginning, starting maybe big picture. From your perspective, when you hear all of this tech talk, agentic AI, automation. How did you interpret it now versus before Eulerity? And maybe when you were looking for a solution for My Salon Suite in the first place, how did you separate noise and buzz from perhaps genuine capabilities?
Okay, so not gonna lie, all of those buzzwords were incredibly intimidating to me at the beginning. If I had had this webinar, a year ago when we were first looking into you, I probably would have understood it a lot more. But AI, automation, agentic AI, it was all kind of scary to me because I didn't know what it meant. My extent with AI knowledge really involved like plugging a prompt into Chat GPT to give me some ideas for marketing campaigns. I didn't necessarily trust that AI would be able to understand our specific business model and fully understand our target audience. So I spent a lot of time throughout the sales process asking those questions, and the Eulerity team was very patient and helpful with me to explain what machine learning was, explain how the software is always optimizing and learning from our particular audience. It's not a matter of just logging into Facebook, setting up an audience. It's so much more than that. And taking in all aspects of our campaigns to make those umbrella decisions based on all of the platforms. So it took a while, but eventually I was all in and trusted the process. And now here we are about a year in, and I have a lot more confidence in AI. I am using it in many other aspects of my life and job, and I've dove in, trusted the process, and understand now that what you put in is what you get out. So the more knowledge you feed it, the better the results will be.
Yeah, Jill, that's such an honest answer. So thank you for that. I'm sure a lot of folks here feel a very similar way that it is hard to trust and feels very abstract. And I think that's one of like the words that you feel come bubbling to the surface more often than not. That do I trust AI, this machine, until you see it in action. So it's even awesome to see that you're exploring AI in other capacities now. Um, when you did dive headfirst into AI, what did that impact maybe look like when you saw it in practice? Do you feel like that helped maybe your understanding when you got to see it in real time?
It did. And to us, it's all about the numbers. Our number one KPI is our occupancy. So that's how many of our suites are leased by those health, beauty, and wellness professionals. And my team's contribution to that is lead generation. That is what we are responsible for contributing to our business. So The more leads we get, if we are getting more leads than we were getting before, that's really where we find the value. And then you need to dig deeper into that, of course, and make sure that those leads are valuable and actually converting to increase our occupancy. So we started to see the agentic AI actually begin working after our campaigns have been active for a couple of months. The platform began to do what it was supposed to do. It started learning our audience and was continuously optimizing our results. And we started to see that lead number go up, up, and up. And so far, so good. We're continuing to see that trend.
Yeah. And we spent a lot of time, I remember, talking about that learning process and the learning period of just machine learning in general, not even specific to Eulerity. So it sounds like when you were maybe in that learning period after partnering with Eulerity, you really felt the impact after that.
After that, it was hard to wait. It was tough to wait for it to actually learn our business model and our audience, but I can say now that it was worth it.
Yeah, we definitely had our Trust the
Yeah.
Process t-shirts on for a while. Hey, how you guys feeling?
Yeah, you had to
Um,
talk me off the ledge a couple times, but trusting the process paid off.
Yeah, and I think that that's just so natural with anything new, whether it's a new partner, a
Yeah.
new process, new technology. So that feels natural. Maybe you have an example that you wouldn't mind sharing of how you got to see Eulerity optimizing campaigns in real time after that learning process kind of matured.
Yeah, so some things that we started to see was go through it would start to go through different like age categories for targeting. It learned that we weren't seeing the best results from younger demographics, so the platform kind of optimized away from that and started to show specific creatives that were performing better than others. Every once in a while, we put in a creative that we think is going to like perform amazingly. And then Eulerity tells us differently. It may not have been the best creative, but we tried it and that's okay. And sometimes we're surprised that, a really simple graphic or photo that we plug in winds up performing the best.
Yeah, and we always end up talking about that when we
Yep.
think of AI machine learning, that objective versus subjective decision making. We might think that the pink ad with sparkles and a group setting, performs well, but we get to listen to the data and help us make just more informed decisions. And I'm sure everyone has felt that relatable example. You think something's gonna work until the data tells you that it doesn't, but it can also be refreshing to have like a clear directional point. Speaking of creative, I know that that's something that we still constantly talk about in regards to pinpointing your audience. So, can you maybe talk about that? I know that was one of your biggest challenges. How did you face that before leveraging AI and the Eulerity system?
Yeah, so our target audience is really niche. We can't lease suites to just anybody. We need to reach a licensed health, beauty, or wellness professional that is interested in opening up their own business. So it really can't just be anyone. It's not as simple as targeting someone looking for a haircut. It's an incredibly small target audience. Um, so prior to leveraging the Eulerity platform, our audience was either way too big or it was way too small. And if it's too small, you can't even run ads on social. So thankfully, the Eulerity team understood that, and we were able to adjust our targeting, set up keywords and parameters to reach the right audiences, and to support those keywords and parameters with creative images that really resonated with the audience.
Yeah. When you talk about different creative images, I know we talked about ad variations and testing those
Uh,
different results. How did you feel like that made an impact?
I think it made a big impact. I mean, we plugged in different service providers, and we were able to A/B test and compare the different results, and the platform was able to do it for us. We're really just looking at the results and kind of figure out who we should be targeting because those are the ones that the budget is more worthwhile going towards.
Yeah, when your audience is so specific, that margin for error obviously becomes smaller and smaller. So maybe you can talk about the ways that we were able together to help distinguish between someone actually looking to rent a salon, an entrepreneur looking to start their own business, versus someone looking for a salon service. Maybe some of your experience there.
Yeah, and that actually it timed out really nicely. We were rebranding in June and we had the opportunity to redesign our website. So I leaned really heavily on Harley and the rest of the Eulerity team to give me feedback and help guide us on that. So when we were reorganizing our landing pages, we were able to set up different paths for users who were looking to book a service versus users who we're looking to inquire about a suite rental.
Speaking of those campaign tactics and shifts, when you say landing page optimizations, it obviously makes me think of the opposite, meta lead cards, where we weren't
Yeah.
utilizing the landing page for a while. What was that process like? I'm sure it felt very new as you were in landing page optimization mode to kind of switch and explore a tactic that maybe felt very different from that.
It was different, but it was something that we were willing to try if it was going to garner a high lead volume for us. So our average number of leads per month is about 8 to 10, based off of everything that we were doing on our primary campaigns with Eulerity. So and then previous to that, over the past like year and a half, our lead volume had slowly been decreasing. So after we had been running our primary campaigns for a few months, your team recommended that we try something different to increase that lead volume, which was those meta lead cards. And they were explained to me that they are a high conversion campaign that's run only on Facebook and Instagram. And instead of a user clicking to our site and filling out the lead form, they are actually presented with a lead form right inside of Facebook that they can auto populate their information. And then we get pinged with a lead inquiry. So they don't ever have to leave Facebook or leave the app. And as soon as we rolled it out, we only introduced it to a few pilot locations to start. We saw those locations lead numbers spike. It went from 8 to 10 leads in a month to on average 25 to 30 leads a month, which is a huge increase for us. So, we all kind of dove right in. We had some integrations with our Salesforce platform to work out, but once we worked that out, we began onboarding pretty much any location that was running Eulerity campaigns that had suites available to lease up. And we saw, once we were fully on by the end of June, early July, we started to see at least a 20% growth in our lead numbers year over year. Um, from July was our best month of the year so far. And I think it was like 28% higher lead volume than July of last year. So that was certainly a win for us. Those lead card leads do take a little bit more nurturing. So we're working on training our franchisees on that piece of it. But we're working closely to continue to optimize those campaigns so that we make sure that we are targeting the right people.
Yeah. And I think that is actually such a great example that you just kind of ended with of how it all works together. Like our team was able to learn from the data that was being analyzed and optimized off of. With that, we were able to make a recommendation for lead cards. And of course, our teams needed to work together to implement those. But then it went back to having the AI optimize at scale. So it's really such a cyclical nature that you get to experience. And I know we are talking so tactically, so I want to pivot for a second and maybe speak a little bit in more nebulous philosophical terms. One of the worries that I know is out there is that if this AI is so powerful, is this technology just going to take over the job of marketers? So, what's your perspective there? I know you continuously talk about the human expertise, the human interaction, maybe some of the guardrails that we discussed putting into place.
I don't believe that at all. I think that AI is helping make our jobs easier. And if you are not embracing it, you're already behind the curve and probably more at risk in
Mhm.
your job by not embracing everything that AI has to offer. But to Harley's point, there are a lot of human elements that need to continue to stay at play. So every time we see a franchisee submit an ad, we need to review it to make sure that it complies with our brand standards. We work with the Eulerity team to make sure that we are tweaking our targeting. If there are certain like negative keywords that we need to put in that AI may not be aware of, we make sure those are being manually plugged into the system so that all of those things that maybe only we as the brand understand are being plugged in versus just the AI machine learning.
Yeah. And is that something that you would say as a recommendation, let's say to anyone listening or other teams looking to adopt AI? Do you think that that's maybe one of the main recommendations is to consider the human element, or do you think that there's other things that they can consider when they're looking to adopt a kind of system or tool like this?
Yes, there needs to be a human element. We lean really heavily on the Eulerity team. Um, Harley said at the beginning that we talk quite frequently to make sure that all of our campaigns are running as they should. I am the type of person that has a lot of questions, and I want a human to answer those questions for me, in addition to AI. So I think it's really important that you have that human connection to, if not anything, like fact check it and confirm that everything is set up correctly versus just plugging in some campaigns and letting the software do its thing.
Yeah.
You need both.
Yeah, I think we 100% agree here. I think that's one of the things that, from our perspective, a SaaS platform with what we call it agency-like capabilities or tendencies, um, we see that as maybe one of the differentiators. But is that one of the main differentiators that you saw, or when maybe you're exploring different agencies or platforms or things that you've worked with in the past? What do you think are some of the main differentiators between Eulerity and some of the others?
So we are a team. My marketing team is a team of four, including myself. So we run really lean. So we needed additional support that we could view as really like an extension of our team. And when we were going through that sales process, a big thing for us was I needed people to support my franchisees. So Eulerity has the option for what they call premium support, which is one-on-one time for franchisees with an additional, um, really minimal fee for that one-on-one support. So they handle things like optimizing keywords, answering franchisees' questions so that we can focus on other aspects of our job. They also handle all of the reporting for us and pull data and help us analyze it, which has been huge. And again, going back to like making those recommendations on our website to optimize conversions, giving feedback on ad creatives, it's all been really helpful to help get us where we are.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying goes back to the different types of AI, between automation, generative, agentic. All in all, they work to help you utilize your time in other places. It helps you
Yes.
kind of like spread yourself a little bit wider without spreading yourself thin. So I know we talk about that a lot, and it's great to hear that you feel that experience as well. Um, to kind of close out some of my questions I've been battering you with, but your answers
I
have been
signed
so
up for
wonderful.
it.
Well, I signed you up for it technically,
True.
but just to close out for our group here, what role do you think AI platforms like Eulerity might play in your future growth? Do you find yourself leaning in more and more? Do you find yourself maybe exploring different types? How do you see yourself just kind of leading the charge for My Salon Suite in this capacity?
Yeah, well, I think that the longer our ads are running, the smarter the machine learning will become with targeting. And Eulerity introducing us to different kind of outside of the box tactics like lead cards made a big impact on our business. So I'm looking forward to see what other type of things you have up your sleeve, Harley. You know, I keep asking, what more can we do? Um, but there's no denying that AI is going to play a huge role in our future growth, in any company's future growth, whether it's in marketing, marketing platforms, you know, generative AI or tools to scale operations. So I've been really heavily involved in looking into some AI operations tools to help our franchise partners save time, save money so that they can be more productive and um, enjoy being business owners in our semi-absentee business model. If we let machine learning do the work for them, they are thrilled with that.
Yeah. We try to tell them they don't need to be marketers as well as small business owners. I think that's a great point. I will let you say anything else that you feel is important. I want to thank you so much for
You.
being here and answering all these questions. But anything else that you want to share about your experience or with Eulerity, with AI, anything that we didn't touch on today that you feel might be important for our audience listening?
Not that we didn't touch on it, but reiterating that it is a process and machine learning takes a little bit of time. You know, you need to give it the time and an opportunity to learn from your audience so that it can do what it was intended to do, which is perform and continue to perform for you.
Yeah.
That was like my biggest takeaway over the past year, probably, is just trust the process.
Yeah, absolutely. I know ultimately we all want to see something tangible in front of our face. We need that like immediate gratification.
Yes.
And it's tough to like switch your brain to think like if I let it learn, if I collect data for a little bit longer, hopefully down the line, that progression makes smarter decisions in the future. So if I can give up the immediate satisfaction, hopefully it makes that satisfaction more long term, more worth it.
Exactly. And that's all a continuous conversation that we have as we relay that information to our franchisees, which is always fun. But they are starting to see that as well, too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Thank you everyone who has been listening in for the last, 45 minutes. I'll keep this up on our screen. Like Jill mentioned, you got questions. We love to answer them. We love these kind of open conversations. So if you have any questions about anything, marketing at eulerity.com is the best place to go. Can answer your questions directly, can direct you to a person on our team who's best to answer them. We're just happy to have these open conversations. It is all around us, so why not lean in and have open dialogue about it and share your concerns? And that's the only way to kind of get through it. We always say, no, don't suffer in silence to our franchisees, but the same goes for us. Share your concerns so that we can address them. So again, just thank you to everyone. I'll keep this up. If you have any questions, marketing at eulerity.com is your best resource. Thank you, Jill, for all you've done. We're
Thank
so excited to
you.
continue working together, show you
Us
some
too.
tricks up our sleeve. But with that, give you guys some time back in your day. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you again.